Well, isn't that a dazzling array of traditional folding pocket cutlery in front of the Apostle P camera? And I have it all there for a reason. We have 3 legendary manufacturers of folding pocket knives represented on the sharpening bench before you this evening. Of course, W.R. Case & Sons, Queen Cutlery, and Great Eastern Cutlery. 2 of them from Titusville, Pennsylvania. 1 of them from Bradford. We took a little trip. I'm going to tell you about it. Stay tuned, guys. Hi, gang. Rob here. It is the evening of 21 March 2015, and I am a weary but content traveler. Just got back from a 2-day trip of oil country, Pennsylvania, Titusville area to be specific. And boy, do I have some awesome video for you. We're going to start out in this first installment of what I'm calling the Traditional Knife Pilgrimage 2015 with just an overview of the area and kind of the state of and the history of the cutlery industry in oil country in Titusville. So come along with me for what'll probably be a 4-video series, including this one. And we'll talk about the region, visit some manufacturers, talk to some cutlers, and some pretty cool people. And I think it'll give us all sort of a trip back in time to when American made meant something. It meant handmade, it meant expertly made, it meant made with care and pride. And it's still going on today. Take a look. You're going to love this series. Well, guys, I thought we'd start our sort of traditional knife pilgrimage to Titusville, Pennsylvania, down here in Oil Creek State Park, or Oil Creek State Park, as the Yinzers would have us pronounce it. Titusville is the home of both Great Eastern Cutlery and Queen Cutlery, and it's in an area called oil country. And the reason for that is this body of water, Oil Creek. I'm standing at the very near the site of the old town or borough or village of Petroleum Center. Other towns in this area that you might recognize are Franklin and Oil City. This area became populated in the mid-19th century because oil was discovered in this creek. It would sort of percolate to the surface. Native Americans would capture it in blankets and use it for fuel. They would soak cattails in it, use them for torches. They would have ceremonies. It was a pretty neat deal. The first producing oil well in the world was right here in this area. So it was an oil boom area before it became sort of the center of the traditional folding knife world. And as we roll into Titusville, I'll share with you a little bit about the history of that town and its present state. Things have been better in Titusville, and we'll kind of take a look at that as we get there. So as we're heading out of the park and back to Titusville, I'll kind of give you guys an idea what to expect in this this little series of videos. I'm here on the Thursday, the 19th of March 2015. I'm going to visit Great Eastern Cutlery this morning. I'm going to spend a few hours talking with Chris Tucker, the customer service and jack of all office trades, and with William Howard, that would be the owner, Bill Howard's son, who is very, very involved in day-to-day operations with GEC. And maybe we'll even have a chance to spend a few minutes with Bill Howard, who is the greatest conservator of the traditional knife industry we have in this country anyway. And then after lunch, I'll try to stop in at Queen. Don't really have any tour plans there. None of the executive staff, Ken Daniels or his son Ryan or President Jenny Moore, are going to be available to conduct any tours, but I will pop into the company store at Queen and see if Ashley or any of the gang are available to show us around the display cases. Who knows, maybe even sell us a knife. So enjoy the scenery as I'm yapping, and we'll see you when we get back to Titusville. So we're rolling back into Titusville, and as we come into town, you might notice that this is an area that most of its glory is in the past. As we were discussing, this was an oil boom town in the mid to late 19th century, so lots of tradesmen, oil workers settled here. These were they were and still are pretty simple folk. They worked hard, they used tools, and in that period the American cutlery industry started to grow up in this area, I guess probably because the same kinds of folks that worked these oil rigs, oil wells, also made good factory workers, and they needed tools, and knives are tools. So some pretty great cutlery names came out of this area. You had Shat and Morgan Cutlery here in Titusville, starting in the late 19th century, and in the early part of the 20th century went out of business. And Queen Cutlery was then founded by a gentleman who worked at the Shat and Morgan factory. A few years into the life of Queen Cutlery, he actually moved into Shat and Morgan's building when they went out of business, and then essentially bought rights to the Shat and Morgan name. And Queen Cutlery still builds the Shat and Morgan product line in that same factory, the oldest operating knife factory in the United States, right here in Titusville. And then in a neighboring town, Titusville, PA, the Titusville Knife Company produced traditional knives, and then the Northfield Unexcelled knife brand was also in this area. And of course, as you guys know, both the Titusville Cutlery and Northfield Unexcelled lines are produced to this day. Well, actually beginning again in 2006 by Great Eastern Cutlery. The Titusville line is the sort of more working knife line, and the Northfield Unexcelled, the dressier line of knives. So when you consider that Titusville, which houses two of the greatest American traditional knife companies today, which would be Queen and Great Eastern Cutlery, Titusville only an hour and a half or so away from Bradford, Pennsylvania, home of W.R. Case and Sons. This is sort of traditional knife mecca, at least in the Western Hemisphere. I mean, this area is as rich with knife history and culture, knife making prowess, as Zollingen, Germany. And we're right here in the thick of it. As we come into the downtown area now, you can see what I saw when I rolled in here last night. A microbrewery that burned last night. Just they were getting it under control just as I came into town. And this is the downtown area of Titusville. And I'm going to shut the camera off here for just a second. And when we get into the neighborhood where the Queen factory is, I'll share a little bit of history you probably wouldn't know, looking at these sort of surroundings of days gone by in former glory. Be back here in just a minute, guys. Now we're riding through a neighborhood here that is full of very grand old homes. Even a regional campus for the University of Pittsburgh. This is kind of it's where the old money was in Titusville, and at the very edge of it, we're gonna come upon the Queen factory. But these are some grand old houses that are, I don't know, in, let's say, varying states of repair, and perhaps a lot of the money that was once here in Titusville is no longer. Little known fact, William Howard, Bill's son, shared this with me earlier today when we were talking. Titusville used to have the most millionaires of any city in the country when the oil boom was going on. We're back at the sharpening bench looking at this dazzling array of traditional pocket knives. Are you guys ready? Looks like we are going to have 3 more videos in this series. We're going to have a visit to Queen Cutlery, as I sort of teased you with at the end of that video. And then we're going to have a 2-parter. So installments 3.0 and 4.0 will be at Great Eastern Cutlery. So stay tuned for these guys. You're really, really going to enjoy them. I promise. Grace to you and peace, my friends, from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word is sharp.